Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Namam Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirbhishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Om Vishnupad Puramansa Paripratacharya Ashtottara Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Namacharya Shri Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Sakaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath, Sham Kun Radha Kunikiti Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Jamana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktavrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari Gaur. Welcome to all. Thank you very much for being present. And special thanks to Purva and Kamalini and Haridas and Lalit Prasad Prabhu. Hare Krishna. We're reading from Caitanya Caritamrta, and now, is this right? Yes, it is right, I think. We're at chapter 1, text 108, auspiciously. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Mahatva Tar Bhakta Bhakti Nam Prem Rasha Tattva Bhinna Bhinna Likhiyachi Koriya Vichar Shunile Janive Shab Vastu Tattva Shar. If one patiently hears about the glories of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sri Nityananda Prabhu, and Sri Advaita Prabhu, and their devotees, devotional activities, names, and fame, along with the mellows of their transcendental loving exchanges, one will learn the essence of the absolute truth. Therefore, I have described these in Chaitanya Caritamrta with logic and discrimination. Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Advaita Mahaprabhu, the glories of these forms, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda, Advaita, and Tar Bhakta, Bhakti, Nam, Prem, Rasha, Tattva, and the truth about all of these items. Bhakta, Bhakti, Harinam, Prema, Rasha. Binna Binna Vikiyachi, Kuriya Vichar. I've written about all of these topics with great thought, vichar, discrimination, consideration. Shunile Janibe Shab Vastu Tatvasha. So after hearing about them, yes, one will learn the essence of the absolute truth. Vastu Tatvasha. Sri Rup Raghunatha Pade Jar Ash Chaitanya Caritamrta Kohe Krishnadas. Praying at the lotus feet of Sri Rupa and Sri Raghunath, always desiring their mercy, I, Krishnadas, narrate Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, following in their footsteps. Thus end the Bhakti Vedanta purports to Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta Adi Lila, first chapter, describing the spiritual masters. Just an editorial note, this verse comes up again and again at the end of the chapters. Sri Rup Raghunatha Pade, Jar Asha, Chaitanya Caritamrta Kade Krishnadas. And Srila Prabhupada each time would translate it a different way. So that doesn't, sometimes he would translate it one way, sometimes another way. Sometimes he would say, so the author ends the chapter offering obeisances to the six Goswamis as usual. He would do it in different ways. So I put together one version from several translations he'd given, and I asked his approval for the resultant translation, and which he gave, and so that's what you see. Praveen asks, with logic and discriminations about the mellows and transcendental exchanges, how does logic explain mellow? Well, the word here is vichar. Vichar means, Prabhupada gives consideration, giving proper thought, proper discrimination, proper, I think there, you must be familiar with this word from the Hindi. Vichar, considering. So one has to think about it. Rasa also, if we want to understand, it's called rasa tattva. The truths about rasa, or the science of rasa. It's not a sentiment. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu wouldn't hear dramas or poetry composed by ordinary men or anything not first approved by Swarup Damodar Goswami. Because if the authors didn't get it right, then it would wind up being rasapas, of improper taste, uncongenial taste. So one has to know the science of rasa. This rasa goes with that rasa. That one goes with this one. In this situation, this rasa would arise in that situation, another rasa. These are the signs of this rasa, these are the signs of that rasa. This would be appropriate in this person, this would be found in that person. So it's not just love, 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 but it's a science, the science of rasa. And Srila Rupa Goswami has given that handbook, you almost might say, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, a guide to understanding rasa tattva. So Similarly, transcendental exchanges means, in one sense, exchanges of rasas, or spiritual dealings in general. One has to understand them by proper thought. Otherwise, the sahajas don't properly consider and they wind up in a mess. So proper vichar. Yeah. I hope that's good. Anything else? Okay. We're moving on to Chapter 2, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This chapter explains that Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself. Therefore, the Brahma effulgence is the bodily luster of Lord Chaitanya, and the localized supersoul situated in the heart of every living entity is his partial representation. Purusha avatars are also explained in this connection. Mahavishnu is the reservoir of all conditioned souls. But as confirmed in the authoritative scriptures, Lord Krishna is the ultimate fountainhead, the source of numerous plenary expansions, including Narayan, who is generally accepted by Mayavadi philosophers to be the absolute truth. The Lord's manifestation of Prabhav and Vaibhav expansions, as well as partial incarnations and incarnations with delegated powers, are also explained. Lord Krishna's ages of boyhood and youth are discussed, and it is explained that his age at the beginning of youth is his eternal form. So the author is going to explain Chaitanya Tattva, the truth about Lord Chaitanya. Who is Lord Chaitanya? Not just from a historical point of view or from, again, a point of view of sentiment, but with Tattva Vastu Vichar, carefully considering what is the actual position of Lord Chaitanya. How are we to understand it? I would like to silence that. How do I do it? Hold on, let's see if I can. I don't need these notifications. Thank you very much. Well, I'll just leave it. The spiritual sky contains innumerable spiritual planets, the Vaikunthas, which are manifestations of the Supreme Lord's internal energy. Innumerable material universes are similarly exhibited by his external energy, and the living entities are manifested by his marginal energy. Because Lord Krishna Chaitanya is not different from Lord Krishna. He is the cause of all causes. There is no cause beyond him. He is eternal, and his form is spiritual. Lord Chaitanya is directly the Supreme Lord, Krishna, as the evidence of authoritative scriptures proves. This chapter stresses that a devotee who wishes to advance in Krishna consciousness must have knowledge of Krishna's personal form, his three principal energies, his pastimes, and the relationship of the living entities with him. Sri Chaitanya Prabhum Vande Balopiya Danugrahat Tarenana Mata Graha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram. I offer my obeisances to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, by whose mercy even an ignorant child can swim across the ocean of conclusions about the ultimate truth, which is full of the crocodiles of various theories. Nana Mata Graha means the crocodiles of various theories. So these infest the Siddhanta Sagar, the ocean of conclusive truths. But even a boy, even a child, Balopi, Yadanugrahat, by the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, can transcend, cross over, Taret, he may cross over that ocean. By the mercy of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, even an inexperienced boy with no educational culture can be saved from the ocean of nescience, which is full of various types of philosophical doctrines that are like dangerous aquatic animals. The philosophy of the Buddha, the argumentative presentations of the Gyanis, the yoga systems of Patanjali and Gautam, and the systems of philosophers like Kanada, Kopila, and Dattatreya are dangerous creatures. Okay, you're still there. They're dangerous creatures in the ocean of nescience. By the grace of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, one can have real understanding of the essence of knowledge by avoiding these sectarian views and accepting the lotus feet of Krishna as the ultimate goal of life. Let us all worship Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu for his gracious mercy to the conditioned souls. Srila Prabhupada, in his tour de force, prayers by the personified Vedas, deals with these various crocodiles. Any comments or questions here?
Maharaj?
Yes.
Yesterday we were talking about, I think it was yesterday we were talking about in Bhagavatam class how we are enjoined to not study Mayavad philosophy, and someone was bringing up the point, well, what's wrong with studying it? You know, if you don't, how do you know? And I was thinking, it's funny, the same day I saw, I guess my computer is spying on me, I saw a story about some children who were in a boating accident with their parents, and they wound up on a little island and they had to swim back to their home island, avoiding crocodiles and sharks along the way. And I was thinking, when you just read this verse, I was thinking, yes, the crocodiles are there, they're waiting to grab you. And so these alternate, these other philosophies, it's not just that it's neutral and somebody thinking differently, they're tools of Maya to grab you and keep you in the material world. It's not just a passive thing, that they're specifically designed to prey upon you, it seems like, to keep you in the material world. So that's one reason for avoiding it. It's not just knowledge, it's something that's inimical to you or predatory upon you. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. Thank you for the serendipity. Yeah, quite good points. Kendra Prabhu.
Thank you very much, Maharaj. When you were reading the chapter summary, there is a sentence that I thought was curious, and I was wondering if maybe you'd want to speak on it. He says that Lord Krishna is the ultimate fountainhead the source of numerous plenary expansions, including Narayan, who is generally accepted by Mayavadi philosophers to be the absolute truth. So when I think in my limited way about Mayavadi philosophers, I think, well, do they consider Narayan to be the absolute truth? And is that, how does that statement fit with our usual understanding of the impersonal nature of Mayavad philosophy?
Yeah, how do we understand the statement that the Mayavadis consider Narayan the absolute truth? They consider him the absolute truth, but they're all mixed up about what that means. For them, the ultimate feature is the Nirakar Brahma, formless, nameless, no qualities, no nothing. But Narayan is a sakar, projection of that absolute truth. When the absolute truth takes on material qualities, then he's appears as Narayan. So that Narayan may be convenient for worship, or for that matter, we may worship Ganesh or Brahma, Surya, Devi, Lord Shiva. Doesn't really matter, because these are just forms. They're the absolute truth in form. But we know that the ultimate absolute truth has no form, no qualities, and so on. So in that way, the impersonalists can accept Narayan.
So it sounds almost as if they would put Narayan in shudder quotes, that we, for the time being, for the sake of convenience, all right, but really.
Yeah, the probably called a time-serving devotional service. They'll give some service to Narayan, and it doesn't really matter which of these deities you worship, because they're all projections of the same thing, same impersonal substance.
So that would be the same thing as what Prabhupada calls in another place philosophized Vishnu.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Philosophized Vishnu. So then there's a question from, or Prabhin says, they say that Krishna, Ram, Nrsimha comes from Narayan. The Mayavadis may say that, or the Vaishnavas who worship Narayan may say that. Kaviraj Goswami deals with that later in Caitanya Caritamrta, and takes sort of a liberal outlook at one place, and he says, call them what you want. You can say that Narayan comes from Krishna, Krishna comes from Narayan. They're all the same absolute truth, the same Advaita Machuta Manadim Anantarupa, the same non-dual absolute truth appearing in different guises or in different features. So there, at least, he says, let's not argue about it. We'll take it either way. But elsewhere, of course, he establishes Krishna Stu Bhagavan Swayam. Saraswati says, we find sometimes disagreements and antagonism within a bona fide Vaishnava Sampradaya, to which can cause much dissension. There may be arguments and there may be disagreements. There shouldn't be antagonism. Although there may be disagreements and there may be apparent antagonism, but the Prabhupada compares these to, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur calls these all loving controversies, where even the acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, take different positions and disagree with one another. He says these are all loving controversies. Srila Prabhupada likens such disagreements to disagreements among the members of various political parties. The Democrats are against the Republicans are against the Democrats, they're both against the independents or whatever other parties there may be. But even though everybody's disagreeing with everyone, still, when it comes to the point of the country, they're all in agreement. If the country is attacked by some foreign power, they'll all stand shoulder to shoulder to protect the country. So the apparent disagreements among the members of the different sampradayas, Srila Prabhupada compares to those kinds of disagreements, political disagreements among those who are loyal, all loyal to the same country. So even in this world, we shouldn't expect that everybody will agree with everyone on everything. There may be disagreements, and that can be accepted even in the on the spiritual platform. The competition, disagreements, they're there even in the spiritual world. There are political parties, Radharani's party, Chandrabali's party. So these things you'll find everywhere. Yes, Tulsi Priya.
I don't want to take this off track too much, but I'm trying to think, when I think about different disagreements and controversies within our Krishna consciousness society, it seems like there is a lot of antagonism, not just apparent, and even though there may be the same goal, it seems that the different sides say, oh, they're destroying Srila Prabhupada's movement, oh, they're, against the Siddhanta, oh, they're, and the sides look at each other sometimes as enemies almost, in the sense that, they're preaching the wrong thing, or they're teaching the wrong thing, or they're, and I'm just wondering, what's an example of a non-antagonistic disagreement and
the GBC has disagreements all the time.
I'm sorry. Oh, the GBC, yeah.
Go to a GBC meeting, they're all disagreeing with one another. Mm-hmm. Or temple board meeting, they're all disagreeing with members of, and in one sense that's good. They're supposed to disagree with one another so that things can be considered from different points of view. Mm-hmm. One thing is that we should see that everyone, let's put it this way, we should all follow the 4 regulative principles strictly and chant 16 rounds a day. Then the disagreements will be considerably fewer or less acrimonious. Chant 16 rounds a day and follow the 4 regulative principles. If we don't do that, then we become eligible for being dragged around by the material energy or used by the material energy for needless controversies. Those who are seriously following will do better. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. And careful of Facebook, where there's Kali resides, where there's intoxication, gambling, meat eating, illicit sex, gold, and Facebook. Social media.
I'm avoiding it mostly these days.
A lot of gold there, by the way. They really, it's big business. Okay, we come to...
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
This is Commander Kirasi. He said about the gold. So what to do with the gold?
What about gold?
Yeah, what to do with the gold?
Spend it in Krishna's service. That's what Parikshit Maharaj did. When he gave Kali permission to live where there was gold. Then he spent all the gold on sacrifice, on worship of the Lord. So in that way, the gold is purified, the gold is used in Krishna's service. Is that okay?
But I have some, so then how can I use it for?
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear.
I have some, so how can I use it for?
You have some gold. Well, use that for Krishna's service. Krishna can be decorated with gold. Gold can be, gold is money, finally, once generally. It's used for exchange, so it can be used for the service of the Vaishnavas and the Lord. And some amount you can keep for yourself for your service to Krishna. You have the example of Rupa Goswami, 50% for the Brahmins and the Vaishnavas, 25% he distributed to family members, and 25% he kept against personal emergencies. The materialists hold on to 100% between them and their family members. Is that okay?
Yes.
Prabhin says, how does this following of 4 regs and 16 rounds explain the disagreements among the senior members? We would not want to be critical. Yeah, there may be, it's not that following the rules explains the disagreements, but the disagreements become non-toxic when we're seriously following. If we don't follow, then we become playthings of Maya, tools of Maya, and things are quite nasty. But if we follow, still there may be serious disagreements. Someone may be seized by the crocodiles of Maya, and we do find in Chaitanya Caritamrta that the sons of Advaita Charya, for example, went off course. So there is such a thing as going off course. Even Prabhupada said there may be accidents even on the royal road. So it's not a guarantee, but almost. Even Prabhupada said you follow strictly and follow these and chant 16 rounds and you guaranteed you'll go back to Godhead. So even though there may be disagreements, these principles are important. Sarti says, a close friend of mine, a disciple of Srila Prabhupada, was told to vacate temple-owned premise because he had association with Srila Narayan Maharaj, which caused so much unhappiness. Well, I don't know the details. Certainly being associated with a Vaishnava should not be a cause for being told to vacate temple premises. Sometimes those who become attached to a particular Vaishnava outside of ISKCON want to, spread the good news to those within ISKCON about the glories of someone outside of ISKCON and institutions outside of ISKCON. So that's not very much appreciated. If you're enthusiastic about a Vaishnava outside of ISKCON and a society outside of ISKCON, then go outside of ISKCON and spread the word, but don't be a resource raider. It will not be appreciated when temples work very hard to bring people to Krishna consciousness and engage them in Srila Prabhupada's movement. And then someone comes to the Sunday feast, for example. I just heard this example, comes to the Sunday feast and makes friends with all the prospective devotees and invites them elsewhere. That will not That's not, what's the word, appropriate behavior. And I could see how that would be cause for being asked to, you know, as they say, peddle your papers somewhere else. We don't, you know, we have respect for other Vaishnavas. We have great regard for all Vaishnava sannyasis and spiritual leaders, but that shouldn't be a ticket for what's the word? Just exploitation. And it becomes tricky, you know, or rather, what's the word? People become cagey, you know, they come to ISKCON, they go there with the deliberate intent of gathering resources from ISKCON. And then when they're called out on it, then they say, well, you know, why are you getting upset? You know, we're all brothers, and this Krishna consciousness is one, and Srila Prabhupada had a very dear relationship with this Vaishnava or that Vaishnava, and, you know, like, they're just completely innocent, you know, I don't understand why you're getting upset. But meanwhile, they went there very well knowing that they were going there on a camel raid, as it were, you know, the Bedouin tribes would raid one another for camels. So that kind of, the other Bedouins didn't tolerate it. And even in Gaudiya Math, this is not accepted. And it's not accepted. The Gaudiya Maths know how to be very cordial and with one another and respectful toward one another, but there are ground rules and everybody knows them. Even, you know, IT recruiters would not be welcomed at Apple or Google or whatever if they were just coming there on a talent search or coming headhunting. This is just normal understanding in the material world and on the society of Vaishnavas. But otherwise, we should be very respectful to Vaishnavas. And that's how it was presented to me, in fact, in Tucson, where I just was. There were some prospectors, and they were told, you're welcome to come for the Sunday feast, you're welcome to come and take prasadam, but if you want to come here recruiting, which is what they were doing, please don't, you won't be welcomed. And that doesn't seem to me unreasonable. Okay. Within ISKCON, Prabhin says, the crocodiles of Maya are using Prabhupada's philosophy. How to then identify which one is coming from the genuine consideration of helping the movement as all around us, as all sound as Prabhupada's teachings? Well, we have to know. We can't, there are people who are, you know, associated with Prabhupada's movement or who are Prabhupada's disciples and who misuse Prabhupada's philosophy for all sorts of things. Either they've got sort of a new wrinkle on the philosophy, or they use the philosophy to justify sinful activities and recruit other people for sinful activities, or one thing or another thing. So we should be educated. We should read the books and hear from reliable Vaishnavas about what the teachings are. We should know, especially from the books. Prabhupada's lectures are there, Prabhupada's books are there. We should understand these things. And then there's the society of Vaishnavas also. We have leaders who are generally supposed to be reliable and who are there to help us discriminate between what's legitimate and what's not. I hope that's helpful. Guru is there, one can hear from the Guru what is what. The same thing, Shastra Guru and Sadhu. Tulsi Priya is holding her hand up for a long time.
Sorry, that was a mistake.
Okay. Okay. Anything else? All right. The next verse is quite wonderful in its composition. And I don't think we'll get through the whole verse. Purport is a little long, but let's try. Krishna kirtana gana nartana kala patojani prajita sadbhaktavali hansa chakra marupa shreni viharaspadam karnanandi kala dvanir vatume shiva maru prangane Shri Caitanya Dayanite Tavalasal Leela Sudha Svartuni. O my merciful Lord Chaitanya, may the nectarian Ganges waters of your transcendental activities flow on the surface of my desert-like tongue. Beautifying these waters are the lotus flowers of singing, dancing, and loud chanting of Krishna's holy name, which are the pleasure abodes of unalloyed devotees. These devotees are compared to swans, ducks, and bees. The river's flowing produces a melodious sound that gladdens their ears. Krishna Kirtana, loud chanting of Krishna's name, Krishna Kirtana, Gana, singing, Nartana, dancing, Kala, and other fine arts, painting and drama and so on. They all decorate this Sankirtan movement. Patajani, with lotuses, Prajita, beautified. Shadbhakta Avali, Sadbhakta Avali, Hansa Chakra Madhupa, Shreni Vihara Spadam. So the transcendental activities are filled with flocks and swarms of bumblebees, Madhupa, those who drink honey, and lost my place. Chakravaka birds, swans, Angsa, Vihara Aspadam, they're the pleasure abodes of these devotees. Karna Anandi, giving ananda, pleasure to the ears. Kala Dhvani, this transcendental sound. Vatu me jiva, let this Ganges, Svardhuni, with the Leela Shudha, the nectar of your pastimes, flow on my desert-like tongue. Jiva Maru Prangane, Prangane Sri Chaitanya Dayanidhi, O Lord Chaitanya, ocean of mercy. Purport, our tongues always engage in vibrating useless sounds that do not help us realize transcendental peace. It all starts there. Therefore, vacho vegam. The tongue should be engaged in vibrating transcendental sound. The tongue is compared to a desert because a desert needs a constant supply of refreshing water to make it fertile and fruitful. Water is the substance most needed in the desert. The transcendental pleasure derived from mundane topics of art, culture, politics, sociology, dry philosophy, poetry, and so on, is compared to a mere drop of water. Because although such topics have a qualitative feature of transcendental pleasure, they are saturated with the modes of material nature. Therefore, neither collectively nor individually can they satisfy the vast requirements of the desert-like tongue. Despite crying in various conferences, therefore, the desert-like tongue continues to be parched. For this reason, people from all parts of the world must call for the devotees of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who are compared to swans swimming around the beautiful lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, or bees humming around his lotus feet in transcendental pleasure, searching for honey. The dryness of material happiness cannot be moistened by so-called philosophers who cry for Brahma, liberation, and similar dry, speculative objects. The urge of the soul proper is different. The soul can be solaced only by the mercy of Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his many bona fide devotees who never leave the lotus feet of the Lord to become imitation Mahaprabhus, but all cling to his lotus feet like bees that never leave a honey-soaked lotus flower. Lord Chaitanya's movement of Krishna consciousness is full of dancing and singing about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. It is compared herein to the pure waters of the Ganges, which are full of lotus flowers. The enjoyers of these lotus flowers are the pure devotees, who are like bees and swans. They chant like the flowing of the Ganges, the river of the celestial kingdom. The author desires such sweetly flowing waves to cover his tongue. He humbly compares himself to materialistic persons who always engage in dry talk from which they derive no satisfaction. If they were to use their dry tongues to chant the holy name of the Lord, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as exemplified by Lord Chaitanya, they would taste sweet nectar and enjoy life. Relishable. Yes, Haridas applauds with his hand. Such beautiful poetic descriptions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the Sankirtan movement we find in Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami's verses and Srila Prabhupada's commentary. Jaya Jaya Sri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jayadvaita Swami Jaya Gaur Bhaktivinoda. All glories to Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Lord Sri Nityananda. All glories to Advaita Chandra, and all glories to the devotees of Lord Gauranga. Chatiya Shlokir Artha Kori Vivaran Vastu Nirdesha Rup Mangalacharan. Let me describe the meaning of the third verse of the first 14. It is an auspicious vibration that describes the absolute truth. We're following the structure of Srila Kaviraj Goswami's exposition. He began with 14 auspicious verses, Mangal Charan, and now he's been unpacking them one after another. He's described the first two verses in chapters 1 and 2, and now he proposes to discuss the third verse, which reads as follows. Yadadvaitam brahmo panishadi tadapyasya tanupa ya atman tadayami purusha iti so syam savi pavaha sadaishvaryai purno ya iha bhagavan sasvayam mayan na chaitanya krishna jagati paratatvam param miha. What the Upanishads describe as the impersonal Brahma is but the effulgence of his body. And the Lord, known as the Supersoul, is but his localized plenary portion. Lord Chaitanya is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna himself, full with 6 opulences. He is the absolute truth, and no other truth is greater than or equal to him. So we can stop here and pick up again next Thursday at this point. Shall we have a little more kirtan?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Yes, I was thinking that recently Apurva Prabhu had volunteered to lead kirtan, but someone else had already started leading, so I was wondering if he's available and still willing, or else maybe someone else would like to chant.
I wouldn't mind.
All right.
I'd be greatly honored. Thanks for asking. That's the kirtan. Okay. Okay. Hold it. Yeah, I'll be right there.
Maharaj?
Sorry about that. You caught me by surprise. Should I go ahead, or somebody said Maharaj?
No, we don't intend to pay attention to Maharaj. Let's go.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thank you, thank you.
Jai Hare Krishna.
Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paripurajaka Acharya Stotra Sri Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavin ki jai.
Jai.
Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai.
Jai.
Prem se kaho ki Krishna Chaitanya Guru Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhakta ki jai.
Jai.
Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Guru Radha Guru Govardhan ki jai.
Jai.
Vrindavan Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Dham ki jai.
Jai.
Jagannath Puri ki jai.
Jai.
Mai ki jai.
Jai.
Jai. Tulsi Devi ki jai. Bhakti Devi ki jai.
Jai.
Samasta Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
Om Premanande.
Hare Hare.
Thank you to all.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Thank you, Apura Prabhu and Kamalini Mataji. Very nice.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Beautiful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Very
much.
nice.
Thank you,
Kirtan.
Maharaj.
Very nice Kirtan.
Thank you, Maharaj, for giving us proper Vaishnav etiquette in dealing with situations.
With old people. Tolerance.
Yeah.
Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hari
Krishna.
and Lalita.
Jai.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
Thank you, Maharaj, and thank you for that kirtan as well. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, sure.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
Yeah.
Jaya.